you, Krystel, for joining us all the way from the Middle East. We really, really appreciate your time. So I thought I'd just kick off by asking you, what is it that you do in the Amazon space, and what is your background?
Well, thank you so much. All the way from sunny and very hot Dubai. Thanks so much, James. It's a pleasure always talking to you. So I'm the founder of a company, what is now known as an Amazon agency. Of course, when we created it, when I founded it, there was no such thing as an Amazon agency. But the company is called Amazon Sellers Society. And the reason why I founded it is because I'm officially obsessed with Amazon and how the business model of Amazon actually works. So after exiting my own business, which was very successful on Amazon, I found that there was a very big gap for brands and small to medium-sized businesses that have established very nice and interesting products, primarily in the Middle East, and weren't able to expand beyond the Middle East. And we're talking, this is about 5 years ago, so it was quite a long time now. And for me, I had already experienced Amazon, and I thought, okay, let's be that bridge whereby we find these companies and we're able to help them expand through strategic partnerships with us, and we represent them on Amazon. And that's how the journey started. Now, fast forward to 2019, we moved our headquarters to Dubai, and we started focusing on the market. But what ended up happening is Amazon started in the UAE as well. So now we had a new marketplace. We started focusing a little bit on the UAE, not knowing exactly what's going to happen, but we discovered, especially after 2020, that the demand was just absolutely insane. So right now, we are an Amazon agency. We help primarily companies and entrepreneurs, either based in the Middle East, but mostly based in Europe and all over the world, try to enter into the Middle East market, primarily through Amazon as their channel to sell their products. So we're focused on the Middle East and on Amazon.
Awesome. That's certainly very interesting, because we down here in Australia don't know much about what's happening on Amazon in the Middle East. So I guess that brings me to my next question. Why don't you tell us about the Amazon selling community in the Middle East? Like, is it fairly active? Where else do the local sellers sell to? We're just kind of keen to know a bit more about what's going on over there.
For sure. So when Amazon started in the UAE, what they did was they did a full takeover of an actual marketplace, which was arguably the best marketplace, the #1 marketplace in the Middle East. So they took over a marketplace called Souk.com. And Souk had previously 3 main marketplaces centered around maybe the biggest markets or the biggest countries, let's say, in the Middle East, which are the UAE, KSA or Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. So they took over that website, and what ended up happening is the first marketplace which they flipped from Souk to Amazon in 2019 was the UAE. So that's how they entered the market. Now, what ended up happening is a lot of businesses and sellers that had been selling on Souk for a very long time were left stranded, because Souk is a completely different marketplace and operates completely differently. And we all know Amazon's terms of service tend to change every 5 minutes. So sellers were not used to that. So there was a lot of a lot of chaos in the beginning. But then a lot of sellers got their foothold, and then 2020 happened. And what happened during the lockdown is the same thing that happened for each and every Amazon marketplace. The demand just grew exponentially, and the sellers were there in order to be able to help people get whatever products they want. Then in 2020, at the end of 2020, what happened is they also flipped Souk KSA, Saudi Arabia, to Amazon. And now potentially in September of 2021, the final trilogy of Amazons in the Middle East, which is Souk Egypt, is going to be flipped to Amazon Egypt. So we'll have our trifecta of Amazon marketplaces all over the Middle East. Now, also, this is just to give you an idea of how big the market is. Now, also, Amazon, they started in December 2020 a beta program because I believe it's very smart. You've got a lot of countries, neighboring countries, that are part of what is known as the GCC, which is kind of very similar to the EU system. Those countries are very rich, and they're not big enough to have or to merit, I believe, their own Amazon marketplace, but they're right here and there are neighbors and the culture is very similar. So what Amazon said, what they started back in December 2020 was a beta program telling people in Kuwait, Oman, Bahrain, as well as Saudi Arabia, okay, guys, if you want to order your products from Amazon, don't go to Amazon.com. Come and order them from Amazon UAE and get them shipped without any additional fees and get them over to your country quickly, obviously, because we're very close to each other. So that potentially expands the marketplace into several other countries neighboring as well. Now, if you know anything about the culture here, James, you know that people are natural born entrepreneurs. Like, it's very rare to find somebody who has a 9-to-5 job who doesn't have a side hustle or anything on the side. People love to expand and to grow as human beings and individuals, and they love to make money. So that's why, and primarily the age of people living in the Middle East, I think the statistics is something like 60% are under the age of 30, which means you've got a lot of potential customers primed for e-commerce as well, and sellers as well. So it's a very vibrant marketplace, but it's a very early marketplace. So if as a seller, you've always thought, oh, I wish I started on Amazon Europe 5 years ago, or I wish I started on Amazon.com 10 years ago, now is the time to start on Amazon in the Middle East, because that's exactly where we're at. It's a very early, early advantage type of market. And almost, I think there's a statistic that was done by Jungle Scout, I believe, almost 96% of current Amazon sellers in the Middle East are first-time sellers. Like, they've never sold anything on Amazon or in e-commerce. So that's a bit of a challenge, but there is a very big opportunity for sure.
Interesting. It sounds like kind of like a fertile soil environment over there.
Yes.
For experienced sellers to come in and, start selling, and it sounds like it's a level playing field. That's really, really interesting, Krystel. So that really brings me to my next question. You touched on it a bit about talking about Kuwait and Bahrain and Egypt and the like, but how do you see Amazon selling evolving in the Middle East over the next 12 months? What changes do you foresee?
I feel that Amazon is a very strong brand here that didn't need any additional marketing, because almost, I believe, 80 or 90% of people living in most of the Middle East are expats. If not expats, at a certain point in their life, they either went to university or did some kind of extra work in Europe or the US. So they're very familiar with Amazon, and they're very reliant on the Amazon brand. One thing is for sure, I feel like when we first started, it was very tough to convince companies and brands that Amazon was not, a business that was a fad. Like, a lot of companies had the idea that Amazon is a fad. It's here today. They're just not going to shop online. And obviously, with the trajectory and things that are, and all the data that we see, that's not true for sure. Now, what ended up happening is e-commerce in general, and marketplaces, and Amazon being the leader of those marketplaces in the Middle East, we're estimated to get to about 25 billion in sales in the Middle East. And by around 2025, Well, we definitely reached that in just 2020. So I think Amazon do have a plan to up their game with Amazon Egypt opening up, which is going to be the biggest marketplace because Egypt is around 100 million inhabitants. So it is the biggest country in the Middle East. And I don't think that they're not going to be able to cater to all of the neighboring countries as well, because that would just be opportunity lost. So they are doing quite a good job. They do have a competitor though, because you did ask me. And the main competitor here, which is a strong competitor, is also a local marketplace that was developed in the UAE called Noon, which also caters to the same exact marketplaces that now Amazon does as well. So it's competition is always good because it pushes you to do better. So I think it's going to push Amazon to do better as well.
Yeah, interesting. It's again, very, very interesting insight that we have no idea about, but we love to learn about, which is really, really interesting. So finally, my final question for you, because there's so much, happening in the Middle East, it seems like a great opportunity. What should brands outside the Middle East be thinking about when selling into the region? Obviously, other than using your agency, like what should they be thinking about, like, pragmatically or strategically before going there?
First of all, what companies and brands, and the reason why they look to the region is because of the fact that the taxation laws are very flexible. There's literally no income tax. The only type of tax that we have here is VAT. So it is fairly easy. And the reason why most companies tend to have their headquarters in the UAE is because the laws and regulations of the UAE are very, very well developed and very friendly to international businesses, as well as the fact that you can easily ship any product from anywhere to the UAE because of its strategic location. So all of that makes it very interesting for brands and companies to actually set up their headquarters in the UAE, have a 3PL, for example, in the UAE, and then cater to the rest of the world. That's the main thing that I would suggest. But also additionally, it took us a very long time in the beginning to be able to try to, obviously optimization on Amazon is a very important thing, but it took us some time and a lot of trial and error to try to figure out how the culture here, even though I just said like 80 to 90% of people are expats, but still how the culture here would react to a particular listing on Amazon. Is it very important to be brand registered? Is it very important to have certain types of things in your images? Copywriting, do people actually read text? Do they read them in Arabic? Do they read them in English? So all of that took a lot of trial and error. And I just can say that it is something that you need to focus on for sure. And most of the sellers that are not getting the results that they want to get are just taking those listings directly from the US and just popping them on Amazon UAE and just hoping for the best. And that's definitely not going to work. So it takes some time for someone to be culturally relevant and be able to get those customers to really trust the brand. Remember, people living here are living here because, to be quite honest, the job market here is fantastic. People love to live the high life. I'm sure you've seen a lot of images of Ferraris and Lamborghinis and people driving these cars here. So people are spoiled for choice. You just need to put the right messaging in front of them.
Sure, very interesting. And I do like your point about, essentially localization of content to suit the region. I think that's very applicable and really very relevant. So look, I'm conscious of your time, Krystel, but thank you very much. I think all of that was very, very interesting. And I think, honestly, a lot of people will be looking to the newer Amazon markets as an opportunity. And I think the Middle East is certainly that. So again, thank you very much. And look, if anyone's got any question, please feel free to leave a comment below, or I can even connect you with Krystel directly. So thanks again.
Thank you, James.